This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you!
Boring. 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 Boring.
You gotta work. Don't tell us what we're gonna feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're gonna feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. That's exactly what you're doing. You're in no position to dictate what we're gonna feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Yes, the sausages at time of broadcasting. We still haven't got the sausages back from Palestine, but that's another story for another day. Today, I want to talk about the apparently inexorable rise of Reform UK. Welcome to Lembit Öpik Live here on Unprecedented TV, where we find the facts, kill the spin, and tell it like it is as best we can. Yes, we express our opinions, but ne'er the twain shall meet between those opinions and facts. You can make your own judgment. And when I express my view, it'll be clear that's what I'm doing. My views are my own, and my guests aren't even restricted in doing that, and nor are you. So please do get involved in the chat. You can do that on X at Lembit Öpik, or please do subscribe at YouTube on Unprecedented TV. We love the increasing numbers, and it helps us. It increases our theatre of operations, if you like. So please, thank you. And can I ask you to do me one favor? Make sure that you get your friends to watch as well if you think what we're doing is good. Now, here's an interesting question. What's causing Reform UK to do so well? Some people say it's because everyone else is doing so badly. Yes, the Uni Party, that's the Conservatives, the Labour Party, and the Liberal Democrats do seem to be heaving under the strain of Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, and his inexorable rise towards what seems to be Downing Street. Some are saying he's bound to become the next Prime Minister. Well, a week is a long time in politics, as we often say here at Unprecedented, and as often been said in politics generally. Just she had a little bit of a... Sorry, Angela Rayner, Claire Rayner, of course, was the agony aunt. Angela Rayner needs one because for the sake of saving some stamp duty, she took a very big tumble from Deputy Prime Minister to backbench Labour MP. But the big question here is, what is going on with Reform? Can they push all the way to power? From a handful of seats now, they need 326 seats. In 2029, I still think that's the time of the next general election to become the government. Well, you let me know. Go to X, or you can go to the YouTube and just let me know of your views. Before I introduce my guest, who was actually involved in a quite dramatic turnaround east of where I'm sitting now, and in the Thurrock area of London, or just outside London, technically. Before I talk to him about it, let me express my view. It's quite obvious now that the Conservatives are pretty much dead in the water. They've had a pretty disastrous party conference, little short of ridicule from the mainstream media. And this is the mainstream that used to love them, used to give them all the airtime, used to suck up to them. Why? Because the mainstream follows where the mainstream politics goes. But we've got the Labour Party, with Keir Starmer, who has got record unpopularity ratings, but more than that, no clear plan to dig his party out of the deepening hole he himself is creating. The Lib Dems have Ed Davey, who I like personally, but has completely mucked up, in my opinion, his leadership by turning into a clown. Let's not talk about the Greens, not really, in my view, a serious party. That leaves Reform. Reform with Nigel Farage, who is quite clearly an affable fellow. But more than that, he has an effervescence, a fizz, a charisma, not unlike Boris Johnson. The difference is, a lot of people feel that Nigel Farage will deliver Brexit and everything that goes with it, when Boris Johnson did not. Most significantly, Farage has a plan for migration. He has a plan to junk the crazy, in my view, net zero agenda, the non-existent climate crisis, as I put it, doesn't need investment. And he doesn't like woke either. I wonder if any of that appeals to you. And if it does, where did you start? Were you a conservative? Were you Labour? Were you a Liberal Democrat, as I was? Well, that's an interesting question. But it's a question which is being increasingly answered by by-election victories around the country, as well as a phenomenal performance by Reform UK in the 2025 local elections. Let's look at a case study on this. Thurrock is a part of Britain which is just outside the M25, just outside what you might call London. But Reform UK won a sensational victory there in a by-election not that long ago. Why did they win? Who voted for them? And what does that tell us about the state of British politics? I'm very pleased to say joining me now is somebody who is right on the inside in all of this, and that is George Monk. George, great to see you.
Hello.
You look far away there. You better come.
I can try and get a little bit closer for you. How about that?
Very, very, very good. But you're clear of thought and sound. Just tell our viewers, first of all, what your involvement is in terms of Reform UK.
So in our branch, I'm currently the campaign coordinator. After our by-election the double by-election in May, we had on the same day as the local elections. So we had a couple other people starting to do that, but I've now taken control of that, and we're looking towards the next local elections if the Tories and Labour don't take it away from us again.
By that you mean if the Tories and Labour don't actually not have elections on the basis of being scared of you.
Exactly that.
Tell us about why the election happened, the by-election happened.
So there were two councillors, one Labour, one Tory, and one of them had decided that he wasn't going to do that job anymore. He'd taken a what he called a politically sensible job. Not quite sure what that means, but he had resigned the post, and the by-election was called. While we were campaigning from January up until that point, there was another person that stepped down, and they had the election on the same day. So that was quite interesting, having to go from one candidate to two.
And how long was the campaign?
So we started just at the end of December, start of January, with leafleting, canvassing, things like that. The by-election wasn't actually called until quite a few months into us doing that, because we'd heard that it was going to be being run. We'd actually started as a branch this time last year.
And you did quite well, didn't you?
Yeah, so we actually got near on 50% of the vote between our two councillors. Councillor Alan Benson got 52%, and Councillor Russell Cherry got 48%.
And here I think we got a picture of the winners.
Yeah, so that's Alan Benson on the left. You've got our branch chair, Sophie Preston Hall, next to one of our former MPs, James McMurdoch, and on the right is Russell Cherry.
Quite a result. You're talking about getting half the vote. What was the result the previous time?
So there were each council that we were against was a Labour and Conservative. So they each had their own results that we were trying to overturn.
But what were the figures? I mean,
I didn't actually have those figures.
But don't worry, I'm not trying to trick you into saying
that's fine. It was less than 50. It was I think it was, we were trying to overturn about 30%, I think.
Okay, well, it was a pretty dramatic result. 0 to hero, basically. Why did you win?
So because people were just fed up, well, at that point, and still now, it may be even more so, fed up with Labour and the Conservatives. So in Thurrock, it's quite interesting because we had Jackie Doyle-Price as a Conservative MP up until the general election in 2024, and then it switched to Labour. And people thought the grass was going to be greener. Turns out it didn't. So that's why when both of them have come up against us, they've lost so resoundingly.
So they weren't really taking you that seriously, really.
No, I don't think they thought we were going to do as well as we did. I mean, to be honest, none of us did. We on the actual polling day, we were thinking 30% maybe we'd maybe win by the amount that they did, but
Yeah.
the people come through and got us even more than we even expected.
And what caused that? Fundamentally, why did I'm going to press you on this? Why? Because it's an interesting question. Why did Reform manage to convince so many people who probably never voted Reform? Well, clearly hadn't voted Reform before. Why did you convince people, or did you not need to convince them? Were they already there in your view?
I think it was our resolve to be out there on the doorstep, talking to people, finding out what they actually needed, what they wanted from their councillors, because Labour and the Conservatives didn't really do that. They were just kind of leafleting, maybe talking to a few people, a lot of people closing the door on them. To be honest, they got a few doors closed on me, but those people maybe just didn't turn up on the day.
Because they weren't motivated to vote for their parties.
Yeah.
It's an extraordinary situation, George. I've been to Thurrock. Actually used to work there to an extent for a very big company based there, Procter & Gamble. Great company, by the way. But I didn't really get involved in the politics at all. I wasn't that political outside Newcastle at the time, not to the level of granularity that I'm involved in now.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't have expected that a traditional voter base would shift so dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that strike you as odd?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were at that point an alternative. Now we're the only option.
That's a pretty arrogant statement, some would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's how I feel about it anyway.
Yeah, but then you've got a vested interest. You can declare a commitment already. What's interesting is that all those people led to a result where both of the candidates got roughly 50% of the vote. That's a phenomenal result.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at not only the result, but they've actually hit the ground running and they're doing so much casework, they're meeting with the people that they are there to serve, and people are still showing their support, coming to branch meetings. We're getting even more people come and tell us how well we're doing.
Must have been awkward moments. This is one of the pictures of the counter thing.
Yeah. Oh, that was the polling day. Sitting in the room was very interesting. I had no idea what to expect. Got a couple of sneering looks from some of the sitting councillors. And when the results were called, they called all of the candidates over to the other side of the room, and they didn't think we could hear them really, but they weren't being overly quiet. I heard them say maybe 200, 300, 500. It got to Alan and Russell, and they were saying 1,000. And
sorry, what is that? Sorry.
In terms of votes, so they were saying this person got this many votes, this person got however many votes. It got to Alan and Russell, and it was 1,000 something. Yeah. And I just turned to someone and said, "Did they really just say 1,000?"
How did the other parties react in the room?
They wouldn't speak to us. I mean, if you speak to Sophie next time you see her, she'll tell you they didn't want to speak to us at all. You've never seen a room clear quicker.
Did they start leaving before the result was announced?
They waited for it all to be announced properly, but as soon as it was announced, they sort of said, "Oh, well done" to their own candidates, and wouldn't really give us a look. There was a few councillors that we got to speak to, but most of them left the room straight away.
Were they embarrassed?
I think they didn't want to believe it until it happened.
That's kind of interesting, really, because the whole thing about a count, something like that, is that you tend to know who the two front runners are, but it's more difficult now because Reform had never won there before.
Yeah.
So suddenly someone goes from nowhere to the top.
Absolutely.
I'd be willing to bet that Labour, Conservative, Lib Dem was a Lib Dem candidate.
I believe there was. I think there was even a green.
Were they all moaning about the fact Reform did so well?
To be fair, I think the Green Party candidate turned up on his own. You had sort of tables. You had the Labour table, Conservative table, then we had a little table. But I didn't see the Lib Dems there.
Well, I don't think they were really expecting to win. So looking at the lesson from this, once again, I recognise it was very closely involved with the activity team, if you like, in Thurrock. So there'll be a temptation to spin this. What do you think that tells you about the local elections and the general election in 2029?
Well, people want to know that you care. People want to see you on the doorstep. Some of them might want to have a go at you. I even went out leafleting the other day. I put a leaflet through the door, and the one that we're currently running, well, I'm trying to do in Tilbury, it has a picture of Keir Starmer on the front, so it's a little bit misleading in that way. And the guy comes out of his door, and he's got a face like thunder. So I had to tell him, no, wait, it's not a Labour leaflet, it's a Reform leaflet. And he goes, oh, okay, that's all right then. And people want to see you, I think. I think they're fed up of only seeing you when you want their vote.
Yes, well, yeah, I've always had doubts about promoting or at least putting other party leaders on a leaflet. I think it confuses the public. That's just my personal view. I never did that as an MP. I never said, don't vote for them, vote for me. I always said, vote for me. But that's a conversation for another time, perhaps. The fact that you're still campaigning implies that you've got high hopes for the constituency.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just looked at electoral calculus before I came on, and it said our chance of having Sophie Preston Hall win in that constituency of Thurrock is 82% chance of actually winning. The actual percent of the vote they're predicting is 43.6%.
That's remarkable. Here's David Lammy. Listen to this.
Our flag, but his policies don't match British values. We must call his scheme to round up and deport our French, our Indian, our Caribbean neighbours who already have indefinite leave to remain. It is racist. I say not in our country, not in our name, in our eyes.
He's a dreadful speaker. I mean, really, it's just embarrassing, really, to listen to him. But he's accusing David Lammy, the man who was booed and heckled in Manchester not long ago, and didn't have the agility to turn the audience around for reasons which involve Palestine. We're not discussing that tonight, or today, or frankly, most days, because I don't want to. I don't really want to make a big deal of it right now because it's a completely different story.
No.
But he says this stuff morning, noon, and night that Reform is racist. I heard somebody say recently that Reform was neo-Nazi.
Well, that's what they're trying to.
Go on.
Sorry, that's what they're trying to attack us with, and it's not working for the people that are supporting us, because we're getting more support out of it. The people that are were at Labour conference, we've actually had some people turn around and say, well, that's not what we're in it for. We're not there to play the man, we're there to play the ball. And it's quite funny that they say that specific policy is racist, because part of it was you need to speak English, you need to have a job, all that sort of thing. And then they came out, I think it was even a couple of days after, and said, you need to speak English. You need, and it was, okay, so is it racist when you say it?
It's actually worse than that, because David Lammy there said, we're playing the ball, not the man. Then he said, when he was asked if he said Nigel Farage was racist, he said, I leave others to the side. If someone who flirted with Hitler Youth is racist, basically. Hitler Youth?
No.
Hitler Youth shut down in 1945. It was an unbelievably disingenuous, terrible thing.
It's like,
in my view, at least, that David Lammy said.
It's like he said that to somebody.
His foolishness and his lack of intelligence. It was a ridiculous thing to say, and he had to apologize.
Absolutely. It's like you said that to somebody, and then they've said, "Oh yeah, say that, David. That's really good."
I think you're probably right. Just a word on David Lammy. He's now the Deputy Prime Minister. It's said that you can judge people by the company you keep. That bodes very ill for David Lammy and Keir Starmer, in my view. Or am I playing the men, not the ball? I'll leave that. It's rhetorical. Just last word on the state of the Labour Party, though. What does Reform UK think of Labour?
Well, we think that they're essentially a busted flusher, a name that we used to give to the Tories, but now it seems that they're exactly the same, if not worse, because they basically walked in and said, "Right, what can we sell?" And they try. That's pretty much what it is. And then they ended up having a worse black hole anyway.
Yeah, this is the thing. They said there's a £22 billion black hole. That's what we kept hearing from Rachel Reeves. Now there's a £30 billion black hole. Are they still blaming? Are they still blaming the Tories?
Well, some people say it's 50 now, don't they?
It's ridiculous. And in my view, my opinion, if you stop this ludicrous climate hoax, then you could get most of that money back. We'll come back to that in a moment. Before we go further, Claire Dyer, one of our great presenters here on Unprecedented TV, has had some remarkable guests. Here's just a reminder of what it feels like to watch Claire Dyer's show. Yes, she's got some remarkable guests at the moment, and she's coming under some heat personally at the moment, mainly because she's highlighting important facts and facts others may not want you to see. And also, you'll find all of this on the archive if you actually go to the very important, in my view, YouTube, well, essentially library of all the shows that we're doing. So please do have a look and subscribe. It's really helpful to us. Doesn't cost you anything. Subscribe to Unprecedented TV on YouTube and you'll be most welcome there. But we're talking with George Monk from Reform UK at the moment. Tell us, what does your job involve? So
at the minute, my first thing to do was to make sure that all of our wards had ward captains. So but we've got 12 wards. We needed a ward captain for each one. So someone that I can delegate to, I can give the leaflet packs to, and get them to then work with maybe local volunteers, or I would work with them to get an action day together and get those leaflets out or get that canvassing done.
And that sounds like a not very glamorous job.
I mean, I think it's very important to get that sorted, because it means that we get any message that we want to get out on the ground and sorted. So there's areas that I have yet to cover, which I definitely want to cover. I want to work with our leaflet guys to get the correct leaflets out, what we actually want to say in those areas.
Yeah, I've done those jobs. I actually quite enjoyed them, I have to admit, George. When I've met you, I've always been tempted to start comparing notes about how you organize leaflet runs. That's not what most people talk about after work, but it's a lot of fun. Go on.
What was really important for me is that when I got the maps through, some of them just didn't make sense. It didn't. You didn't walk the way you would walk it. It was just kind of like, here's an area, you're going to do this circle and this circle, but it didn't tell you necessarily which way around to do it, or how to what one of the guys that we go out with said, because he used to be a postman, he says, follow your nose, just carry on down this road and you end up back where you started.
Yeah, when I was a councillor in the northeast of England, Newcastle upon Tyne, I knew every street. I'd done every round, and there were places where you said, go around the back there because that's where the letterboxes are, or you'd say,
Yeah.
don't put your fingers through that letterbox because the dog will bite you.
Yeah.
And you'd get
Or
to
run
do it.
into the dog and scare the living stuff out of it.
Yeah, I'm glad you used to put it like that. Yeah. Now let's talk about your contacts. This is an important person in your area. Tell us
Indeed,
about her.
that is our lovely chair, Sophie Preston Hall, and hopefully, as I mentioned earlier, our future MP. So when we first had our first branch meeting around this time last year, most of us walked into the room having never been in politics before, met this lady, all sat down, had a couple of people speak, and for me personally, I wasn't necessarily sure of what I wanted to do, but having listened to all of that, I was certain that this was the party that I wanted to be with.
What's she like as a person?
Just so supportive. The amount of support that I have had, not only from Sophie, but the whole branch, has been more than I could even imagine.
Well, she does seem, I've met her, she seems very plausible. And at least in my view, committed to doing the right thing rather than just wanting to be in politics. One thing I'm worried about is loads of Conservatives who realise the game's up for the Tories. They're all going to move to Reform UK. And so therefore they're making a negative decision to move from the Tories to Reform UK. I didn't feel that with Sophie. I think she's actually feeling...
Another thing that's really good is that she's got a really good feel for people's energy. So if say for example a Conservative comes up to say, oh, I'm thinking of joining Reform, if she doesn't get a good feeling from them, they're probably not getting past her.
Well, that's a good thing, because what wrecked my old party, the Lib Dems, was entryism, which means lots of people who weren't Lib Dems, including Nick Clegg, he was not liberal or democratic, he was just a foolish, self-serving language stronger than I would like to use in a family show. And sure enough, he wrecked the party. He took it from 63 MPs down to 8 in just 2 elections. Just total disaster. And what I'm worried about is the same kind of entryism with Reform. The second thing is, in terms of the campaigning that you're doing and so forth, there's all kinds of arguments about things like flags. And apparently,
I was going
to say the British flag is apparently a racist symbol. But lo and behold, above Downing Street, you've got the British flag and the Ukrainian flag.
Yeah.
Are they saying they should just have the Ukrainian flag flying above Downing Street? Really,
Well,
George?
It's almost like they're saying that it's anything other than the Union Jack and the St George's Cross, isn't it? But there's quite a few examples from the local elections, like Kent County Council, Warwickshire, places like that, that have said, look, we're only doing our flags, essentially. The English flag, Union flag, the county flag, if it is a county council. And people are getting up in arms about it. But that's the sort of scrutiny we're going to have, and we're going to have to get past.
So when you say we're only doing, what do you mean?
So, I'm sorry, we're only flying those flags on council buildings if that is the policy that they're going with in that council.
But what's wrong with that? You go to America and you have flagpoles outside people's houses with the stars and stripes. No one says, oh, that's racist.
No.
In my experience in this country, it's bitter, small-minded people, zealots who seem to think it's embarrassing to celebrate Britishness. And remember, my parents are from foreign stock, but they taught me to embrace the culture that embraced us. And I've never thought flying a Union Jack or a St. George flag is racist. It's a celebration of culture, of this culture. I don't get, George, why it's okay to do that in terms of the Ukrainian flag, but not okay to do this with a Union Jack flag. If you have a Union Jack flag, oh, you're a racist. If you have a Ukrainian flag, then you're not.
It's almost like trying to battle the same thing. So they're saying you can't have the English flag or the Union Jack or whatever it is because you're trying to signal a certain thing. Whereas other people say, oh, you're only putting the Ukrainian flag because you want to try and say, oh, I'm anti-Russia. That's the sort of thing that people are arguing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We won't go too far into it. I will show you one other picture if we can put it up, though. Apparently, if you put one flag up, it's no good. But if you do this, above Downing Street, it's absolutely fine.
Mhm.
And if you do this to celebrate, I don't know, a jubilee, then it's even more fine. But surely that's even more racist.
Yeah,
Surely
but
this is
maybe
even more
it's not
angry.
maybe it's not the amount of flags; it's how it makes them feel.
It's just ridiculous. I think that looks beautiful to me, but there we go.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't got much time left, but I've got to ask you about the boss. Now, you know Nigel Farage. You met him in
Mhm.
Clacton not long ago. What's
Indeed.
he like?
Well, that picture I used for an X post for my X account, and I used the word rockstar entrance because it really was. So he came into the essentially a back garden, a really big back garden, and walks in, and everyone instantly magnetizes towards him and wants to speak to him, wants to give him a hug, whatever it may be, and he just exudes charisma.
Mm-hmm.
So and when you speak to him as well, it's I didn't spend too much time speaking to him because I even when in that entrance, everyone was sort of gravitating towards him. But I thought, let them have that. Let me stay away and then go and speak to him afterwards.
Yeah. Well, you obviously got close enough to have a chat with him.
Yeah,
Tell me, do you think he'll make a good prime minister? Because at the moment he's the favourite.
yeah, absolutely. That's what we're doing this for, essentially, isn't it? To get Nigel to be the prime minister, and it's going to be something else on that day. I mean, we had someone have a speech the other day, one of our events, and they said there will be street parties. Essentially, it will be like getting our country back, like the Anderson says.
Victory in Europe Day.
Essentially,
Victory in Britain. VB Day. What's your advice to those people who may not yet be convinced to vote Reform UK?
come to our branch meetings. Any ones that are open to people that are not yet members, come along. If there's maybe a stall that opens up and people are allowing themselves to speak to the general public, then come to those events. Let us know why you're not yet involved. Anything that is maybe you're worried about, maybe it's the rhetoric that people are coming about saying, oh, the party's racist or whatever it may be, and we will speak to you about our experience, and maybe that will convince you.
Thank you so much for taking time to talk with me.
No problem.
I have to say that like so many people I meet in Reform, you've got a clear focus, and you're not saying you're with Reform because you can't win with the others. That's the thing that frustrated me about Nick Clegg. He made a calculation, in my view. And Nick, if you want to come on and say I'm wrong, you're welcome. I'm unprecedented to do so. But he joined the Lib Dems because he thought that was the quickest means of ascent. I don't feel that with Reform, but I have to say you have to watch it, because with the Lib Dems language, we're not being a competitor, but the Tories actually in big decline. Just imagine if all the Tory MPs joined Reform UK. That would be a problem, wouldn't it?
I mean, let's be honest. There are sort of a handful, as Nigel says, of ones that would be necessarily welcome, but there are ones that people are touting the names of that maybe wouldn't be ones that were before us, because it might not be. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the right thing to say.
Just don't swear. That's all I ask.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about them being a lot more Lib Dem than Tory, so you've got to be careful of the ones that actually hold those views, rather than actually being true Conservative.
Yes, well, it's a big whole new question which we can't go into today. It would take from morning to night to discuss that, but I have to say, my advice, my opinion is just make sure that you don't get entryism. That's what wrecked my old party. That's why I totally lost faith with Nick Clegg and his ruinous, morally drifting attitude towards politics.
And I won't ask you about Ed Davey.
Go ahead.
I won't ask you about Ed Davey. We've had that conversation.
Well, I used to share an office with Ed Davey. I like him as a person, but I don't think that he's leading the party properly.
Mhm.
I publicly and privately say that Ed Davey would have made a lot more progress. He'd have won more seats, could have overtaken the Tories if he hadn't played the clown during the general election.
Mhm.
I was accused of taking my profile lightly and being in celebrity. I can speak from experience because I know what happens whenever you don't realize the dangers.
Mhm.
But Ed Davey doesn't. And in my view, to be honest with you, he's been fooled into thinking that because he got 72 seats, he did well. He got 72 seats because of your party, because Reform ate away the Tory vote, so that even though the Lib Dems didn't get a particularly great result, they just sat where they were, and the Tory vote went down enough for them to win.
I can't believe you're accusing us of splitting the Lib Dem vote.
No, you got Lib Dems in by splitting the Tory vote.
No,
that's what I'm saying. But I know what you mean. Thank you so much. Where can people find out more about your party?
So you can go on to our website and click on Find Your Branch if you are in Thurrock. It will take you straight to the email address that you need for Sophie. And as they come along to the events, if you sign up to the email notifications, if you want to find maybe my page to get in touch with that branch, it's at George Monk for UK.
Thank you so much. And for all those people all over the world who are watching, you could get a big influx now from all over the world of activists, from Thurrock to Timbuktu. Who knows? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is George Monk from Reform UK. Have your say as well. I'm using that as a case study because it's a remarkable result to get 50% of the vote in a by-election when you were pretty much nowhere in the previous one. What's going on in British politics? You have your say. Get involved in the conversation with me on X and also on YouTube. And please, please, please subscribe. You are doing it. I'm really grateful for the increasing numbers there. The more that you subscribe to our station, the more we can do for you in terms of free speech broadcasting. Once again, don't forget all the other great shows we have. We had a new record recently. We had 8 shows in a single day. That's pretty good. And I would say that we're more diverse than a lot of the mainstream media that we are now seeking to replace. I'm Lembit Öpik. That was Lembit Öpik Live here on Unprecedented TV. Have a great day.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages.